everybody. Welcome back to the Glentendo podcast. I'm Glentendo. This is my show. This is a weekly Smash community / Nintendo big brain galaxy brain conversation podcast. The show goes up every Thursday for supporters on Patreon, then becomes free to all the following Sunday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and obviously, of course, it goes to YouTube. Why wouldn't I do that? This week, special week, the drought is over. We got a Nintendo Direct, finally. And to celebrate, I have not one, but two guests on the podcast. This is not the first time that either of them are on here, but it's the first time that all three of us are on together. And first up is Arhungry. You guys definitely remember Arhungry, the famed creator of the youtube.com/Arhungry channel. Arhungry, say hello to the fans. They're screaming from the stadium right now.
It is I returned.
And in addition to Arhungry, recent podcast guest and the famed, illustrious, amazing host of the Cooped Up podcast, Mr. Kyle Rios, Koopa himself. Koopa, say hello to the cheerleaders. They're throwing pom-poms, bro. There's confetti. They're celebrating that you're on the show.
Where do I fall in regards to guest stars? Am I like Steve Urkel showing up in Full House? Like, how does this all work out?
All right, so if I'm Seinfeld, right? Hungry is definitely Costanza. I think he's going to be happy with that. That's his favorite character, right? And he's the most frequent one, right? You're Kramer at this point, where you just show up randomly, and we're not really sure why, and he just kind of like shows up, and we're not sure why or if we like it. No, I'm just kidding.
Jerry, I'm going to borrow your mattress.
Let me think. Is Kyle... You know, I want to say that if you've only been on once before, maybe you're the Newman of the show.
Oh,
but
no.
Newman, you're definitely cooler than Newman. Newman is not somebody we're happy to see.
The real answer is that he's Elaine.
Can I be Elaine's boyfriend, Patrick Warburton?
Yes. We have a lot to talk about. Nintendo directly uploaded stuff into our brain, bro. Finally. So one of the funniest things about this is there's a Twitter account named @DaysSinceDirect. And the only thing that this Twitter account does is tell you how long it's been since the last Direct. So the funny thing is this is the longest gap we've ever had between proper Directs. It is officially 531 days since the last real Direct. Obviously that doesn't count like Direct minis and like the partner showcases that we got a lot last year, or like the Pokemon Direct. This is like proper, like Nintendo Direct, 1 hour, whatever. The last time we got one was September 4th, 2019, bro. How insane is that?
That's long
wild
time, man.
Yeah.
Dude, does it feel like, all right, so for me, it feels that long. Like
It
that's
feels
over
longer.
a year. Yeah, it feels longer. Wow.
I think like that's definitely amplified with the quarantine, because when I really think about it, it doesn't feel like a long time, because Nintendo is like either done the Direct minis, or they've gone the route of just like shadow dropping trailers from like stuff they were probably going to reveal in Nintendo Direct at E3 anyway, like Origami King and like the Mario 35 stuff. So like when you say it out loud like that, it kind of like makes my skin crawl. That it's been that long since like a standard Nintendo Direct. That's insane.
Well, a standard Nintendo Direct would come multiple times throughout the year. And we got like almost 2 years of that one.
Yeah. And on top of that, it's like what Koopa just said, where it's like, dude, because we've been quarantined, we have a lot more time for news. Like it just feels like we're waiting around at home playing games a lot. And so the absence of those announcements hits us even harder. But like it's also obviously the fact that all of 2020 basically there was no Direct. It's like, all right, well, it was COVID, so we understand that they had to change their plans. The whole world had to change their plans. But anyway, we finally got one, right? And this Direct, let's start with the beginning. Let's start with how it opens. Now, the three of us, we're not just like Nintendo nerds. We also have the added benefit of being competitive Smash players and in Koopa's case, famous, illustrious, competitive Smash commentator as well as a competitor. So this Smash announcement, right? I know that like all the other Nintendo podcasts are going to talk about this, and everyone's going to have their opinion, but our opinions are going to be a lot more interesting because we play this game competitively. Like these characters really change a lot for us as competitors. So it opens with dude, I'm in pain just for citing this. You guys already know how I feel about this because we did for Koopa's podcast on Koopa's stream. We did a reaction to the entire direct. So I definitely, anybody who's interested, go look up Koopa's Twitch stream. But I'm just in pain recounting this memory that is still fresh in my mind. So they announced from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, not one, but two characters in a very interesting dynamic. There's a transformation thing going on. Pyra and Mithra from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. That game came out for the Switch 2 years ago, and it's obviously the sequel to Xenoblade Chronicles 1. And there's this elaborate trailer. What did you guys think of the actual trailer? Like, we'll get into the character and, like, you know, everything else, but just in terms of, like, the reveal trailer, what did you guys think of the trailer? Kyle, you can go first.
Yeah, it definitely, like, as I sat on it, you know, I've eaten a meal, I've taken a shower, and like I've had some time to think about what I had just witnessed. It feels a little like deflating because people were really getting themselves set up in like the set of mind that this character is going to be something like earth shattering, when in reality, like, there was no real paper trail to like lead that. But I think what kind of like takes the wind out of the sails for me is that there's no mystery with who this character is. Like, the trailer starts with Rex sitting on like the hub ship. It's like one of the first ships you like land on in Xenoblade 2. And it's him, like, he's like, oh, I'm looking for Pyra, like, where's Pyra? So like I guess it definitely like does it like an okay job kind of like faking you out, thinking that it's like, oh, you think it's gonna be Rex, but it ends up being Pyra, and then eventually they reveal Mithra. But like, compared to like other like trailers that they've had, not even just in this game, but like in past Smash games, like, there was no sense of like surprise. Like, you knew it was gonna be a Xenoblade 2 character. You were just kind of playing a game with yourself of like, who is it? And that for me was like a little deflating.
Right. What did you think about the trailer, Hungry?
Okay, so as I've stated on the podcast before, I have no attachment to this game. You know,
you said more than that. That wasn't all you said.
Okay. Boy.
I want you to say it because I'm going to share my opinion at the end, and I don't want to have to repeat. I am in full agreement with everything you're about to say. I just don't want to have to like add that to all the other stuff that I'm going to say.
Okay, so I have no attachment to Xenoblade Chronicles 1. I've never played it. Don't have any attachment to Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Never played it. I might never play these games. I'm not even saying that they're bad games. They might be great games. I don't know. I'm not going to play them. Just putting it out there. I'm sorry. Right? Xenoblade Chronicles 2 specifically, the dub, horrendous. I can't get over that. It's actually just a bad dub. I don't want to know, whoa, they tried their best. I'm sorry. It didn't come out well. The sub might be way better, you know, the original audio.
Yeah.
But the dub is horrendously bad. It's laughably bad.
And let's just say the reason why you're bringing that up is because, as Smash Brothers tends to do, they tend to stay very, very close to the source material. They're very respectful of recreating the source material. The horrible dub, the cringe voice clips were on full display for your viewing pleasure. Dude, I could barely get... Dude, it's like you and I were literally laughing at some of these lines in this review trailer.
Yeah, we were on Kyle's stream, and there was one thing he said. He's like, "You're basically owning them, and they're seasoned fighters." And I honestly just kept laughing at that line. I'm like, that sounds so bad. Oh man, the fact that he says "owned," like, that's like, dude, that just sounds so bad in like a fantasy setting.
that's also the character reciting that is Rex, the protagonist, right? So what they did was interesting was that instead of going with Rex, who's the protagonist of this game, they chose the two other main characters that you
Yeah,
don't play
I'm
as
getting to
directly.
that. I'm getting
Right.
to that, right? And I've gone on record multiple times. I cannot stand Rex. He looks stupid. I hate, like, despite what it may seem like what I say, I actually don't like being negative. Right? But I just think Rex looks so bad. Like you could be like, oh, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is like really anime tropey and like the anime titties and whatever, right? But I understand the appeal, right?
Yeah.
I get it. I
I
look at
see.
Rex and
I
I'm
see where
like,
you're going with this.
who likes this? Who designed this? And then they brought it to someone. They brought it to someone in charge with the millions of dollars. They went, yeah, this looks good. Print it. And and then they took time to 3D model this character for a
Yeah.
100-hour game. And not once did they say, yeah, I don't know. These guys look kind of weird.
Yeah. So like again, for me, the actual trailer.
Hold on. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. I'm trying to preface all of this.
Yeah.
And somehow, I saw this trailer, despite not being a series that I'm interested in, a character that I actively think looks dumb. Somehow, this trailer was actually really cool. Like,
Hmm.
I was surprised. I was like, when she's like hitting Link's shield and it's like the Z axis of Final Destination, I was like, what the heck? That looks cool. I was
Wait,
like,
so okay. So explain to me you're talking about in terms of like the move set.
no, no,
Looks
no, no,
trippy.
no. Like, animation. Like, this is like the FMV part of the other trailer when like Zero Suit, Dark Pit, and Link all come at Pyra, right? It like switches to like the Z-axis perspective, and like they're doing just like these cool moves, and I was like, "What the heck? This trailer actually looks good. Like it actually looks like a cool trailer, like
Yeah.
just cinematically, you know?
Hmm.
Like it was very dynamic, and like the pacing was well."
So I feel all right. So just like you, I not only do I not have any like affinity for this game or any relationship with it at all, I have the opposite problem. I really don't like this series from a distance. It's like not. It's not like I played the games and I don't like them. I played the old ones, but I haven't played this specific one on the Switch. But it's like just nothing appeals to me about that. Like I don't like the art style. I think it's very cliche and tropey. And then the voice acting, like you said, dude, it really does like I'm not even exaggerating when I say this. It really does make me cringe. So me watching this reveal, the trailer itself, I didn't think it was that great because everyone else has gotten like these really cool CG trailers, or like in Joker's case, they animated it the way that it would be in Persona, or like in Terry's case, they did like, the sprite based animations that you would see in those arcade SNK games. So for this, it was like they did the in game footage and then it goes the in game footage from Xenoblade into the in game footage from Smash Brothers. And it was it felt like a little bit like low budget. Like it didn't feel I feel like the whole gimmick of it's Rex walking around looking for Pyra and it's like, oh, I'm here and she's on Final Destination. It's like, it almost feels like that was a low budget way of kind of creating a trailer um, for this character. You know what I mean? So
I
like,
saw it. I think on like on the surface, it is kind of that, but like the things I was saying, like when they like go to that Z-axis part, like I think the production value there is a little underrated because like it's like the Smash models, right? And like not like the traditional CGI visuals, but it actually looks really good. Like go back and look at it again, just like that part when like right before they put like Mithra in, like just like that section in between there, it's like surprisingly good, you know.
yeah,
And that's
yeah,
CGI. It's not like the
yeah,
in-game
right.
footage.
Right. Yeah, I think I'll have to look back at that. But okay, so the trailer, that those are our thoughts on just like the trailer itself. Now, let's talk about first how do you feel about this as a character choice, and did the move set trailer, the end of the trailer where they show how this character functions and like the transformation from one to the other, how does that make you like it more? Are you interested in more? Kyle, you can start.
It's at least like a different look, because that's kind of the problem that you have with like, I think most people were like, if you weren't rolling your eyes at the fact that it was a second Xenoblade rep, you were rolling your eyes at the fact it's another anime character with a sword. So it's like, oh god, like when is this ever going to stop? Like it feels like it's never going to. Um, but like I think it's at least interesting. Like because from what I could see, like I watched the trailer a couple of times. It looks like Pyra like might be a little bit slower, but like she hits a little bit harder, and like Mithra might be like a little bit faster, but she's a little bit weaker. So it's definitely like it's a bit refreshing, especially after they took like transforming characters out of Smash like not that long ago. So it feels like that now that the Switch has its processing power back, they're just like, all right, like change that stuff around. Um, I think it looks cool. Like it looks like they have like different specials and stuff from what you can tell, like initially from the trailer. But yeah, at least in like I agree with what you guys said. Like the trailer definitely felt like a little safe. Like to see like outside of that one instance where like you break the Z axis and stuff like that. Like the trailer was pretty plain concerning like the animation for Xenoblade and like Smash Ultimate like almost kind of looks the same. So like if it felt very like it felt very like I don't what's the expression, like mayo sandwich or something like that, like just very plain.
So
Ew.
okay, so how excited are you personally for this character and like their moveset?
I'm like it's hard for me to like really like fake excitement for a character that I like don't really know a whole lot about. Like again, I've played enough of Xenoblade to know like what the turtle is and like where Rex was walking. So like I played enough of the game. I played enough of that game to like know that, and I'm like, all right, I'm pretty done here.
That's how you know if you know a game or not. Can you answer the question? Do you know where the turtle is in this game? There's turtles in every game. Do you know where the turtle is? Is it a Mario turtle? Is it a Majora's Mask turtle?
No, but honestly, like after watching it a couple of times, like and I even said it like when we were reacting to it live, but like the characters look like pretty cool. Like I'd like to like get in my hands like how like the switching mechanics work and like how that might affect your stats and stuff like that. And I didn't see anything that looked like really good as a recovery move, so that's a little suspect. But that's for like a different topic, I guess. But I think just like it's always like fun to like get a new toy to play with, even though like I don't. Maybe this is just me, but like I'm constantly complaining about how there's too many characters in this game. So like, and I only enjoy playing like maybe like 5 or 6 of them. So I don't know. It'll be fun to add like a new toy to like the toy box.
So in other words, you're part of the problem. You're part of the reason they keep
100%.
adding characters to this game because you want that new toy, bro. But all right, in one word, Koopa. If I let's just say yesterday, right, leading up to this direct, what if I just said this was the character? It's Pyra and Mithra from Xenoblade Chronicles 2. In 1 or 2 words, what would you think your reaction would have been before you saw what they actually play like?
Jesus Christ.
Is that a good Jesus Christ or a bad Jesus Christ?
It's like a very like really like Jesus Christ, because like this is the problem that you've had like with the DLC so far is that like it's so the peaks and valleys are very extreme. Like for every Joker or Sephiroth or Banjo-Kazooie you get Byleth and Min Min and like I guess and now another Nintendo character. So like it definitely just feels like to me like a little deflating because like there's just like we've done this countless number of times. Like all of us have appeared on podcasts before, this one and other ones included, to like discuss characters we want to see in Smash. And like while we've gotten most of the ones that we want, there's still like a handful of like pole bearing like iconic video game characters that rightfully deserve a spot in Smash. But we're making room for, I guess, the niche side of like Nintendo's fandom, and that's like a big issue I had with like the Direct in general. I guess we'll talk about that when we get there, but like just feels a little like too like on the nose to me, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk a little bit more about that as we go. So Hungry, all right, how do you feel about the character based off of the move set and how excited you are to try this character. I feel like you're more on the positive side in this one regard than me or Kyle are. Definitely more than me. I'm gonna get to that, but how excited are you for this character? Just seeing what they move like.
Yeah, honestly, I tried really hard to be a hater because I'm not down with it. I think it's a dumb, that's a dumb decision. It's like a really decision. Like it's like everyone saw it coming. You know, like it was a very tactical business decision. And I get it. It is a business, but that doesn't mean that every decision needs to be a tactical business decision. So I was not happy with the character's inclusion as a choice for DLC. I was like ready to just be like, here we go again. Because I've said on the podcast before how, generally speaking, I have not been happy with the DLC how they play.
Yeah.
They're all kind of slow. Outside of Joker and Sephiroth, they're all kind of slow and they kind of all have a gimmick and they don't have real moves. They just have this centralizing thing that makes them annoying. But it actually looks like they have good moves and an interesting thing about them that's not just super centralizing.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think about it that way. Usually the gimmick, the joke that you said previously on this podcast when we talked about Steve and all the other DLC characters is that they all are slow but have a gimmick, right? And so in this case, the gimmick of the transformation stuff, I actually didn't think about it in that context of this is the least it looks like a real thing. It's not just a gimmicky thing. If they transform and the move set significantly changes, it's not oh, I have this one option that you need to worry about and then everything else sucks. That's how all the other characters have been. Piranha Plant has the Patooey, and then you're okay, once you figure out how to get around that, everything he has kind of just sucks. And this character definitely looks different in that way.
Yeah, they have a lot of interesting they've sort of a lot of combo potential. Their what I assume is a down tilt pops them up. We saw a nair to grab combo. By the way, that nair grabbed from pretty far away. I mean the grab follow up from the nair. I was like, oh man,
That's where your $5 goes.
Yeah. But the last thing I'll say though is that it's really interesting that they have the same it looks like they have the same moves, the same normals, but the specials are different, and maybe the smash attacks, but I'm not sure. But we'll see when it comes out, and we'll get more information. But having different specials and different properties, oh, she's slower, she's faster, weaker, stronger, and the fire effects actually matter in this game because of matchups like Olimar and Link and someone else I forgot. I think.
Yeah, some characters have moves that are sensitive to fire specifically. So Link's remote bomb, it'll blow up if you hit it with something that's fire based.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna tell you guys. Let me tell you guys how I feel. Let's talk about my feelings real quick, okay? That's what the show is about. This show is about you guys are here. You guys could talk a little bit, but it really is just me buttering you up so that I could talk about how I feel. All right. I am running out of worst case scenarios when it comes to Smash choices, bro. Dude, minutes before Byleth was revealed, I was like, okay, there's no way that this is going to be a Fire Emblem character. Byleth was revealed as the final character of DLC Pack 1. At that point in time, before she was revealed, we didn't know that there would be more fighters. So after Banjo and Joker and Terry, we were certain that it was going to be an amazing character. And then we got Byleth, right? I was like, my worst case scenario is another Fire Emblem character. We made it to the end of DLC Pack 1 without any Fire Emblem. This is so sick. Byleth comes and they just destroy my world. Your worst case scenario comes true. 2020, off to a good start, right? And then the next DLC pack, the first fighter that they show is Min Min, my other worst case scenario. So after that, Hungry and I did a great episode right before Steve was revealed where we went through all of the potential characters that could be coming in Fighter Pass 2. And we both agreed that for me, it was number one, like my worst. Like, I want literally anyone over any character from Xenoblade Chronicles. Particularly, it was Rex that we were talking about because we thought that was the front runner, and that's kind of why they did the bait and switch with us in this trailer because everyone figured it would be him if it was a character from this game. So, but the problems I have with Rex are problems with all the characters in this. Dude, I can't even look at these characters, dude. Like the art style is so stereotypical, like anime tropes, to the point where like the voice acting is a whole nother thing. Like I literally cringe and laugh at these voice clips. And then the actual like game, I'm not interested in it. I don't like the way it looks. And then just the anime titties, bro. I can't with the I just can't, dude. Like that is so like it's like laughable how like over the top that stuff is with these characters in this game particularly. Like, dude, I would have taken I can't believe I'm going to say this. I can't I'm going to go on record and testify right now and say this.
So you're announcing the next Smash character right now, is what you're saying?
Yes. I cannot believe I would rather have had another Fire Emblem character, dude. That's how bad I think this announcement is.
Wow.
I would have another Marth would have been heaven compared to this for me personally. I can't believe this, dude. Like, dude, even a Pokemon, like yesterday, Twitter was ablaze with all of like the worst case scenarios. And it was like, oh, it's definitely going to be a Pokemon because there hasn't been one for any of the DLC. Like, dude, if you guys need to put anime titties into this game that bad, I would have even taken Nidoqueen. I would have taken anything. I would have taken a Pokemon with titties, bro.
Oh, man. Dude, you remember in Pokemon Stadium, she just shake them for no reason? I'm like,
Yes.
why?
Oh my god. Ugh.
So, okay, so for me, that's how I feel about these characters. This was my worst case scenario yesterday, right? Then it became reality, and in some ways it might even be worse than Rex because Rex doesn't have anime titties. So that's one thing. I have zero interest in playing these characters from their moveset at all. Like I already play a sword character and then I got Sephiroth. So I'm good on that front. Like I would really want a character that is really, really different, right? And we didn't get that. And then on top of that, like I'm not a fan of the music from this game. Like me personally, I'm just not a fan of the way the level looks. Like this is really becoming a problem now because one of the things I wanted to get into was how there's a lot of people that feel the way I do, where Twitter was on fire yesterday with like what would be the most disappointing thing, right? And a character from this series was I actually did a little Twitter poll where I asked people like, hey, respond with what your worst case scenario is, and I got to like a bunch of like more than a dozen replies. A couple dozen replies, and like there were some obvious ones. Like most people were like, please nothing from Fortnite, and some people said Fire Emblem, like the obvious stuff. But there was a pretty sizable chunk of those people that were saying anything from Xenoblade Chronicles 2, bro. And this is now reality. And one of I think this is going to become an issue for Nintendo now because this Fighters Pass, again, my worst case scenarios are emblematic of a lot of other people's opinion. Even though we got Steve and Sephiroth, which I think are universally like praised in terms of like those are great characters, and even if you're not interested in them to play as them, they like deserve a spot because they're important video game characters. I think the Fighter Pass is gonna really have to kill it with these last two characters because right now all people are thinking of is this Fighters Pass is a meme. Like you started with Min Min, which was like the biggest meme you could pick, and then now this character, and a lot of people are still disappointed about Byleth and some other characters from Fighter Pass 1. Like this is the problem with the approach that Nintendo's taking with this game where you pay in advance for the Fighters Pass before you even know who the fighters are going to be. And so there are a lot of people, and now I'm starting to feel like, dude, I kind of wish that I didn't pay for this character in advance because I'm like really disappointed by this character. Like this is really, they could not think of someone better than this. Like, how do you guys feel about just paying in advance and like the Fighters Pass as a whole?
Well, I definitely felt the same way as soon as Min Min got announced. I was like, I can't believe I already bought this. I was like, oh man, that is this you know that like that scene in The Wolf of Wall Street where he crumbles up the $100 bill and throws it in the trash. That was me. It was sort of like that's what I just did right now. Like I just threw our money away, and then like Steve came out, and I touched him for like 2 seconds, and I'm like, "Yep, money in the trash." It's just, I know Sephiroth's been out for a while now, but I haven't had time really to play him, so I really can't say anything about him. And he looks pretty cool. He looks like a real character, so no complaints here. He's actually so far in this pass, Fighter Pass 2, he's the only one that doesn't feel like a legitimate business only decision. Like,
Right.
yeah, Sephiroth just was in the Final Fantasy remake, but that's not on on a Nintendo console.
Yeah.
So it feels more like we wanted to do this because it's cool. And then Min Min and Rex are like, well, we have these games on Switch and they're our property, so it'd be good to market them there. And then Minecraft is like, everyone loves Minecraft, so the people are going to buy it because it's Minecraft.
Yeah.
It felt like really tactical business decisions, and it gets boring just to see that.
Yeah. Right. Kyle, how do you
Yeah.
feel about this Fighter Pass so far? Do you feel like this is becoming a problem, or are you like, you know what? It's been good enough where I don't think it's too bad right now where it is at right now.
So I feel like slightly conflicted because when as I've gotten almost everything I've ever wanted out of Smash, like character wise, like I've gotten like multiple of my favorite video game characters that like I never thought I'd see like playable like in Smash. So like at least most of the DLC, like I've just kind of been like coasting. Like for like when it's cool, it's cool. When it's not, like it doesn't bother me that much. But I think the problem that I've had with this Fighter Pass is that like Nintendo like reached set such an impossible high for them to like live up to, because you just look at, because I said this for almost like 2 years, like the 2 years we hosted I hosted the other podcast I was on. But like Nintendo starts off before the game even comes out by saying, oh, by the way, Persona's coming to Smash. Then Dragon Quest is coming to Smash, and then Banjo-Kazooie is coming to Smash. So like you're getting like these deeper cut characters like Hero and Terry, and you're also getting these like like these niche picks like these retro picks like Banjo, or these like niche like newer characters like Joker. So like they started off their relay with like their best runner, and I feel like they've just kind of been chasing that high since then. Because like I wanted this character, to me, at least at the time of this recording, was going to be like the make or break for me regarding this Fighter Pass. Because like I felt very similar to you guys. Like Min Min did absolutely nothing for me. I think I played maybe 5 minutes of ARMS at a barbecue like 2 years ago, and like that's it. And I've never touched Minecraft. I the second they added Steve to Smash, it was at that moment I felt like that this game isn't for me anymore. That I'm too old to be playing Super Smash Brothers, because this isn't a pick for me. This is a pick for the younger generation. And like it's like Hungry just said, like it felt very tactical and like business like, where like the first Fighters packs like legitimately felt like they wanted to like bring cooler characters to Smash. And Sephiroth definitely like kind of raided that ship a bit, because it's Sephiroth. He's a villain from one of the most like famous games of all time, like one of the best games ever made. And I think after that came out, like people were like really setting up these like crazy expectations again. Like Nintendo roped everybody back in on the crazy train, which is why you saw so many I think that's why like I said, you saw so many disappointed people today, because they were setting themselves up for like Dr. Eggman was trending on Twitter today for no precedent, which is like, for me personally, like I've gotten like I don't know, I feel pretty like lukewarm for the most part on this Fighter Pass.
Hold on, before we continue, I'll just to back up what Kyle's saying. A lot of my favorite characters in video game history are already in Smash, so I'm basically only asking for more right now. So it's kind of like a luxurious spot to be in.
Yeah. Now here's the thing.
Go on, what you were saying.
Here's the thing. I feel the same way, and up until now, I've actually been on that train where I was like, look, I already got Cloud and Snake and all of the characters that I love that felt like it's literally a miracle that Snake is in the game and Cloud is in the game, right? Those are my like dream picks since I was a kid, and they happened already, right? So up until this announcement, I actually felt exactly the way that what you guys just said. And just to back up what Kyle said, like, okay, the expectations might be too high, and they already kind of got all the big characters that you would want for the most part. So maybe the expectations are too high for them to meet. But then I realized something. I realized something as I was watching this announcement. If you look at the DLC for Smash Ultimate, DLC Fighter Pass 1 and 2, the problem with both of those passes so far has been the Nintendo first party characters, not the third party ones. The third party ones have all been amazing choices, from the Dragon Quest hero to Banjo Kazooie, which is a miracle, to Sephiroth, which is like the greatest video game villain of all time next to Bowser and Ganon. Like these are super famous top tier picks that people dreamed of being in Smash. The problems are Piranha Plant, Min Min, and characters like this, like and Byleth and Pyra and Mithra. It's like, dude, now that I think about it from that perspective, this is like totally a self-inflicted wound that doesn't need to be there because, yo, I can tell you 5 characters that are first-party Nintendo characters that would have no clearance problem with like licensing because they're first party and would be way better. Dude, Paper Mario. That is a no-brainer. Literally, people have been wanting Paper Mario forever. There is no one who would. There are definitely people who wouldn't be like excited about Paper Mario, but there's no one who's going to be disappointed the way that they are about Byleth, dude. Like these choices, and again, this is not Sakurai's fault because he made it very clear early on that this is all of the DLC has been Nintendo chose these DLC fighters. It was not his choice. He just tries to make the best out of what they give him. And the third party characters, again, have been miracle characters. All of the first party characters have been dog water, bro. They've been so bad. They've been trash, dude. Dude, they've been so bad, dude. Like, give us another Zelda character, dude. Like something. And to go with what Hungry said,
here's another thing they could have done, right?
Hold on, let me finish. The reason why you feel like this is such a business decision and it's not like a passionate, creative, amazing fan service decision with these characters is, again, because the first party characters are like not good. They're just so like they're the worst characters that you could pick for Nintendo. This is the greatest company in gaming history with the most lovable characters in the series. This is what the best you could do was Byleth and Piranha Plant and Min Min. Dude, like for real, like not writing the show, it dawned on me that Nintendo is the problem with these choices. It is not anyone's fault but their own that people are upset with this.
I was gonna say what another interesting they could have done is that there are like newer series that they're coming out with, right? And maybe represent those instead. Like ARMS had already come out, for like a while, but a game like Astral Chain that just came out, right? And they own the IP for that. It's a Nintendo game, they developed by Platinum, but it's owned by Nintendo. So they could have done that instead. That would have been more interesting.
Dude, you want to promote a game that's already out, like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, that like literally 2 million people bought that game. How about a champion from Breath of the Wild that 20 million people, this is one of the greatest games ever made. Zelda representation is really bad in Smash, dude. Like, I'm actually upset now thinking about it. Like, dude, how are these your picks, man? Like, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to move on because we have a whole direct to cover, and this is taking up so much time. But like, dude, I this is really, like I told you guys earlier, worst case scenario for me, and it's now that it's happened, it's even worse. Like, it's actually worse than I thought it was gonna be.
Well, I don't think it's worse than you thought because at least they look cool. You know what I mean?
I don't think they look cool. I have zero interest in playing them.
Really? You don't think their moveset looks interesting at all?
Remember that my number one most hated character to fight competitively is Shulk in Smash 4.
But they don't look like Shulk. They look like their own unique characters.
I'm just saying, like, I'm not sure if they have anything in common with Shulk. I was going to say that if they do, that's not looking good for me, bro.
They actually look like they have interesting moves, like from their specials to their normals. Their normals are not wholly different from other sword characters, but they do look like interesting takes on them. And
I
the
don't
specials
know.
look cool. Like they have like that flame boomerang thing, or like
It looks all very like this transformation to me is what maybe will make it unique. But at a glance, like again, I didn't frame by frame study the reveal trailer. At a glance, I was just like, okay, it's a sword character. Like that's it. Like I didn't see anything that crazy except for the transformation stuff.
I didn't see a Smash Monado, so I'm okay.
Yeah.
So
Also, just to end the Smash talk before we move on to the rest of the direct, one of the other things that I wanted to talk about was just how like Koopa said earlier, one of the problems with the hype and has been deflating these announcements is that the night before everyone kind of rallies around a character for some reason. So before Byleth, everyone was convinced that it was going to be Dante from DMC because like there was the Switch ports of those old games and stuff, and someone inside my uncle at Nintendo leaked it that it was going to be Dante. So when it wasn't Dante and it was a Fire Emblem character, it's even worse. So it's like with this one, we had Eggman. Everyone got like swirling around Eggman, and Eggman would have been so cool, and you would have all the villains represented in Smash. But then we get this, and people are even more disappointed than they might have been just if it was without that Twitter thing. So just moving forward, I think we all should be a little more careful about like the Twitter stuff because
are you kidding me? It's not gonna be more careful. If anything, they're gonna double down on delusions.
well, what
They're
I'm
like,
saying
we were
is
promised Dante. It's like
yeah.
I'm the
What
biggest Dante fan there is, and you know what I mean. It was like
yeah.
not a promise. It wasn't like anything
Yeah.
official. It was just you, like it's the problem with most websites. It's like you get into this little bubble, and the bubble keeps going bigger and bigger and bigger, and it pops, and you're like, ah, like you're like in
Yeah.
shock. But it's like you had no reason to believe that. You just made all that
Yeah.
stuff up.
My new thing is the character that's trending before the announcement is exactly the one I think is not going to happen, and I just get upset. I'm just like, all right, I'm not going to get upset. I'm going to just not listen to this at all, bro. So moving on, we have a whole direct to talk about. I'm going to run through some games that they announced, and then we're going to stop at the big ones and talk about those in more depth. But for now, let's run through some quick ones, and just give me your impressions, both of you, if you have any interest in buying. Like, I'm going to name the game, I'm going to talk a little bit about it, and then just tell me, would you buy it, yes or no? And in Hungry's case, it's going to be, would you buy this on Switch? Because I already know he's already gonna be like, dude, I have a PC, so I'm gonna buy that, but on PC. All right, so the first big third party game that they announced is Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout, which is coming out summer 2021. Fall Guys is a 60-player goofy battle royale game. It's really colorful and cute. You play as these little jelly bean guys, and you're running around kind of like a 3D Mario type of platforming level where there's like big obstacle courses, and it's a survival thing. So the last guy, everyone's falling off the stage and getting beat by these obstacles, and the goal is to be the last fall guy and win. So I think that this is a no-brainer for me personally. I mean, I could just buy this on PS4 right now, but I prefer to buy games on the Switch so that I could take them with me and just have all my games in one spot. So this is probably, I would say it's likely that I'm going to buy this. Kyle?
yeah, no, I'm in the same boat as you. Like I could have bought this for my PlayStation, but I like the portability of the Switch for games like this, like any sort of like multiplayer games and whatnot. So I'm definitely on board on buying this because it looks fun, and from like the people I've talked to that have played it, they like it. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Okay, so I already have this game.
Oh, okay. If you already have
Okay,
it, that's
wait,
different.
wait. It's a really cool game. Like it's like surprisingly enjoyable, but you have to get into a mindset of it being fun. If you take it seriously, like I feel like you're not gonna have as much fun with it as you
Mm,
could. Like bad things happen to you in this game. Like you get really unlucky sometimes, and you're like, come on. But then like every character and the music is so happy all the time that it just for me it all just works out because it's like I can't be mad. Like it's just too happy, you know. And
yeah,
the
that's
music is surprisingly good. Like
yeah.
not really my taste of music, but I was like, oh, this is nice. And I think I'm if it's $20 because it was $20 when it came out. So if it's not like price gouge, just the Switch tax, you know, I think
Yeah.
I'll actually buy it again just to play with everybody, because it's fun to play with people.
Yeah, and I'm expecting some of the other versions of the game have like, like costumes of specific characters. So I'm expecting some Nintendo costumes like a Mario or a Link costume for this game, which would be really cool. So the other game, Outer Wilds, which came out in 2019, was actually a lot of people's game of the year that year. It's a game about exploring a solar system stuck in a 22-minute time loop, which ends as the sun explodes or supernovas. So you're repeating the same cycle, but with the information that you had from your last run, and you try to solve these mysteries and figure out what's going on, and you apply all that to your next run, and it's really cool. It's like I'm actually a big fan of games that like they take a small thing and they find a way to make it really deep, as opposed to like here's a million levels that are different. It's like here's one level, but there's a million different ways that you can do this. So this game, it comes out summer 2021. I'm not sure if I'll buy this on Switch or if I buy this at all. I'm. It depends how much it is. Like I might look into it, but I'm not 100% sold. Kyle.
Yeah, the games like this aren't like usually my cup of tea. Like any sort of games that like kind of have like a soft like deadline or like things like this. Like they're not really like my cup of tea. So I'll like do my due diligence on it. Because like I'm much more willing to play games that I wouldn't play like usually because of content purposes. So like I'll definitely do my due diligence, but I might like hold off on this one.
Okay, so I have been watching this game for a while because it initially only released on Epic, right? Like it was just an Epic exclusive, and then it came to Steam, and I don't know if it's anywhere else. Everything about this game screams that I will enjoy it, right? But to answer your question, if I'm getting it on Switch, is the answer is no.
Okay. Because I also was about to say that like that kind of short, if it, I actually am more interested in this specifically on Switch, because if it works on a 22-minute loop like that, that sounds really cool for a portable, because that's usually the time frame that you'll play something that's a lot shorter like that. So I'm actually a little more curious about this than I thought. Like looking at the footage, it's not like the most beautiful looking game like on any platform. Just in general, it's decent looking. But I'm more interested in figuring out what that gameplay is about. So the next game is a long-awaited sequel to a Wii classic. No More Heroes 3 comes out August 27th. It's an action adventure hack and slash game, very stylish, very funny, game series. It's like Suda51 is the developer of this game and all the games in this series, and he prides himself on saying that his games are like punk rock games, and they're very rebellious and humorous and stuff. You play as Travis Touchdown, who's a otaku. For those who don't know what an otaku is, it's someone who is obsessed with anime and weeb culture, but he's also obsessed with wrestling. So he has a bunch of anime posters in his room, but then like when you're fighting people, you do like wrestling moves on them, and you use the motion controls to like cut people up with your beam sword and do wrestling moves on them. The first two games are really solid. Like those are just good games. I bought both of them. I finished both of them. One of the most charming things about that series, and we saw a little bit of it in this trailer, is that even so you're like you become this bounty hunter, right? And there's always some new gimmick as to why he has to kill a new list of people. In this game, it's that aliens invade and they're holding a competition to see who's the best human. So you have to like kill all the other bounty hunters or whatever. But the thing that makes it really fun is that he needs to have a day job while he's doing the bounty hunter stuff, and he needs to raise money in order to just be a bounty hunter. Apparently, like bounty hunters are not just rich, bro. Like they have to have money. So the day jobs are always really mundane things like picking up garbage or flipping burgers or whatever. But the way that takes the form in the game is always through like a arcade style like mini game, and those are so fun. So we saw a little bit of that in this trailer, and this is just such a cool series. Like at the very least, go watch the trailer because it's like such a cool looking game. Like it's just cool. There's a lot of cool stuff. And again, to go back to my problem with the Smash character, it's not generic anime stuff, okay? This is unique stuff. No More Heroes 3. Are you guys excited about this game? I'm very likely to buy this, but I'm not 100% yet. Kyle?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you, and it's funny when you add in a wrinkle of Travis liking anime and also wrestling, that means he's just a member of the Super Smash Brothers community at his core. But no, like I agree. Like this game looks like a lot of fun. No More Heroes, like when those games came out on the Wii, that was like around the time where I was like kind of falling out of like playing the Wii like as a regular thing. And I really enjoyed those games when I was like younger. So I like just the game just looks so like wacky and like weird, and like you said, like it's definitely like it's hitting the anime trope, but like hitting it like with a bit of a different beat. So yeah, I'll probably check this one out if I like it'll make fun content even if I don't like it at the end of the day. So
Okay, so I've been interested in Suda 51 games for a while now. I actually just recently purchased. It was on sale, like the last Steam sale. I bought Killer 7 and Killer is Dead because they're both pretty cheap. So I
Mhm.
was like, oh, let's pick them up and I'll see if I like them. So I'm gonna play those first. Then unfortunately, No More Heroes is only on Switch. So if I like those games, I will go move on to No More Heroes. But I'll start with one and then move my way to three. So I'm definitely interested in them.
Yeah. So one thing I will say though, as someone who's played Killer 7 and all the other Suda games, um, they're very like the thing they have in common is that you can tell just by looking at like screenshots, it's very stylized. They actually do kind of have a similar, maybe like cell shaded graphical style. But outside of that, they're completely different games. And like some of the things people hate about Killer 7 are the control. I mean, about Killer 7 is the controls because it doesn't control like a standard shooter. Some people love that game, but some people hated it just from that. No More Heroes, if you end up not liking Killer 7, there's still a possibility that you're going to like No More Heroes. So I would at least give the first game a try. And actually, I think the first game is also on the PS3 and 360. So you might just be able to download that if you don't want to get the Switch version because they ported 1 and 2 to the Switch recently.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I'm not gonna do the PS3 version. I mean, if it's on S360, that means it might be on Xbox One as well, and I have an Xbox One,
there you
so
go.
that's a little easier.
There you go.
Um, but even then, that was a Wii era game, so I wouldn't imagine that it runs poorly on Switch or anything like that. So if I do play No More Heroes, it will be on Switch.
Hmm.
I don't see any reason to
Quick,
play it anywhere else.
I'm gonna do a little quick aside here. So on an earlier episode when they first showed that No More Heroes 1 and 2 were coming to the Switch, I had incorrectly predicted that because it's an HD console, they were porting the 360 and PS3 version of that game to the Switch. And actually, I just found out recently that they did not do that. That to retain the motion controls and some other elements, they actually ported the original Wii version directly to the Switch instead and made that HD, which is kind of interesting because I just would have assumed that you already made this game HD on the PS3 and 360. So maybe they just did that, but they didn't. So anyone who remembers that episode, just clearing the air. The next game that they announced in this direct is a game called Project Triangle. Square Enix continuing the trend of the most bizarre and strange names that will probably just become the name of the game because Bravely Default and Octopath Traveler were both working titles that became the final names of those games. But yeah, Project Triangle is a game developed by the Octopath Traveler team at Square Enix. It comes out next year. So that's the first game we're talking about that's coming out next year, not this year, in 2022. And it's a tactic style RPG, more kind of like Fire Emblem and less like the traditional JRPGs that you're used to. And it retains that awesome Octopath Traveler look, which is like it's a Super Nintendo style 16-bit game but it's built out in a 3D environment and it has a really cool lighting engine. This game just looks really nice. And there's a demo out for it right now, which by the way, I love when they do that. When they're like, here's this new game you never heard of, and you could play it right now. And this is a really, really good looking game. This is probably the best looking third party game that we got in this direct. And I love tactic style games. Like I really like Final Fantasy Tactics on the Game Boy Advance, and I just love strategy games. I love Advance Wars. So I'm right after we're done with this, I'm probably going to play that. Actually, I'm really curious about that. What do you guys think, Kyle? You can go first.
yeah, I think I'm gonna like echo what a bit of what Hungry might say here because he said it while we were watching live. The game looks great. Like I won't deny that. Like you said, the lighting engine and like the art design looks awesome. I love that like Super Nintendo like 16-bit style of RPG. They just spent way too much time telling you about this game. Like I it's funny, we were talking, I was like, oh wow, they still got like 20 minutes left. We might get some like pretty juicy stuff. At some point I was just like, wow, they're gonna spend the next 15 minutes talking about this game that doesn't have a name and won't be coming out for another year. So I think the demo's cool because like I probably wouldn't have bought Bravely Default if it wasn't for the demo version. So I'll probably play it, and if I like it, I'll give it a shot. JRPGs are like a weird genre for me to like sink my teeth into because like I feel like I need to have a lot of time to dedicate to that. So like I don't know if me personally if I'm gonna have that sort of like time and energy to do that, but it looks
Yeah.
interesting enough. I'll at least play the demo to see if I like it.
Yeah, I'm very nostalgic for that. Like when I'm feeling very nostalgic, I go back to that genre and that type of game, like the music and like the melancholy. There's something melancholy about JRPGs from that era, like the 16-bit era. Like the music's always like a little bit like melancholy and stuff. I love that stuff. Hungry, how do you feel?
Okay, so I remember seeing Octopath Traveler and not being particularly excited for it, but then I played the demo and I was like, "Oh, this game's actually pretty fun." I'm gonna buy this game because especially it's cool that they let you transfer your save file from the demo to the full game. And I would not have bought the game otherwise if I hadn't played it. The demo. So I'm really glad that for Project Triangle, again, they're doing the demo. But obviously, since the game's not coming out for like another year, right? They can't do that save transfer file thing again. So maybe they'll come out with the second demo or something. I don't know. But I want to try it, and I'm a fan of tactics games. I like Fire Emblem. I like XCOM. It's a genre that I like. So excited, I don't know, but I'm definitely looking forward to it in a way. Like it's like a in between looking forward and excited, because it's Octopath was a good game. Like
Yeah,
I
everybody.
don't like it. I don't love it. It's not like a brilliant game, but it was like a good little game. That's it definitely filled its weight. That's like it did a lot of things that aren't normally done particularly well.
Yeah, and also that was one of those surprise hits like early in the Switch's lifespan. Like I remember that game, it sold 1 million copies pretty quickly, and Square Enix put out like a statement saying like, "Wow, like this game is a big surprise success. We didn't think that it would be this successful this quickly." And I think we're seeing that now. Like, we have one more game to talk about that is a port, but it seems like third parties for the most part they're showing up for the Switch still, and it's not like as much third party support as we would want, but these are all pretty interesting choices. Like it's not the bottom of the barrel type of ports. And in the case of this game, this is a wholly original third party game. Like this is exclusive to the Switch. Octopath Traveler was exclusive to the Switch, so this is a good sign. And the last game is a game I really want to talk to Hungry about specifically. And this is also another game with a character that a lot of people really wanted for Smash and would have been easily 1 billion times more interesting than what we got. Ninja Gaiden Master Collection, starring, of course, the infamous Ryu Hayabusa, one of the NES classic games that has lasted this long. And this is a collection of ports of Ninja Gaiden Sigma, Sigma 2, and Sigma 3. Sigma 1 came out on the Xbox in 2004. It later was ported to the
Hold
PS3
on.
and
Well,
360.
actually, the original was just called Ninja Gaiden on Xbox, and then
Hmm.
there was Ninja Gaiden Black, which is like an enhanced version, and then
Hmm.
Ninja Gaiden Sigma was the PS3 version of that game, like the remake.
Right. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is what we're getting. We're getting Sigma. We're not getting
The
the
original.
original or Black, which most people say Black is the best version of that game.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're getting Sigma. So just clarifying that.
Yeah. Thanks. And then Sigma 2 and Sigma 3. And yeah, I remember the first time I ever saw this game was the Xbox One, the original just Ninja Gaiden on the Xbox in 2004. And back then, I remember thinking, "Oh my god, like a video game can look like this." Like that game for the time, it was the most beautiful game I'd ever seen in my life. These games are very action focused and very combat focused. There's some platforming, but compared to like the Ninja Gaiden games on the NES, the 3D ones are not as platformy, as the 3D ones. But people love these games, and this is a really big win for the Switch. I mean, it's also coming to the PS4 and the PS5 and everywhere. But yeah, this game looks really cool. I'm not sure about this. I'm gonna have to like see the price and see what mood I'm in around the time it comes out because I could see myself enjoying it, but I don't know if I would play all three of them. Like that style of game for me is like it can become repetitive, and I only really am interested in the first one. So this is a maybe for me, Kyle.
Yeah, I kind of echo your sentiments as well. Like I've gotten on my soapbox for Ryu Hayabusa a lot, like over the years. Because we've even talked about this in like private and other conversations, but like Ryu's like that the last character from like that like niche era of like NES games that like hasn't been that isn't represented in Smash at all. Like because we got Simon, we got we got like Kid Icarus and Metroid and like all those like niche like and NES games and stuff like that. Not to call Metroid niche, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And like I have a lot of love for the original Ninja Gaiden. It was like one of the first games I ever played. And it's still like really fucking hard. I've actually not played any of these games because I didn't have like the systems to play them like growing up. So I'm probably gonna pick them up out of sheer curiosity to play them, and I'm still not losing hope. There still could be an avenue where Ryu Hayabusa, you could have a doubles match between Ryu and Ryu versus Roy and Roy. It could happen. It can still happen someday.
And Hungry, I think you're the one who's probably the most into this style of game. So what do you think about this collection? And obviously, I already know there's 0% chance you're getting this on the Switch. But how do you feel about this game just in general?
Okay, so I really like the first Ninja Gaiden on NES. Tough as nails game. I haven't beaten it yet. I will go back and beat it eventually. But it's a really fun game, and I also, as Kyle said, I've been kind of predicting that he was going to be in an Ultimate, and hasn't really come true. And I really don't think it will. uh, it there's still like a small chance, but it's very unlikely. I think, you know. As far as this game goes, the Sigma trilogy, or whatever you want to call it, the 3D trilogy. There's not really a good name for it, just because the first one was just called Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of people know that I'm a big fan of the Devil May Cry series. I love the Wonderful 101. I love Bayonetta. Metal Gear Rising. I like this genre a lot. It's a genre that I'm familiar with. Big fan. I definitely think that genre in general is underrated. I have not played these games at all. I am looking forward to playing them, especially since there's a sizable part of this small community that we're in of the action game genre, right? Community that like say that this like Ninja Gaiden Black is the best of that genre. That's definitely not like a popular opinion, but it's not unpopular either. But I personally I'm interested in Ninja Gaiden Black, that version of the game. So like I probably will eventually boot up my Xbox and put money into my Xbox.
Can't believe it.
Oh,
This
boy.
guy's going on public record to say he's going to actually pay for something on his Xbox. That's embarrassing.
I
I
bought
hate
things on
that.
the Wii U in 2020, so
Dude,
and
that's
probably
bad.
2021 because I'm gonna buy Pikmin eventually.
Yeah.
Uh,
Please do that already, man. I can't believe you're back on the show and you still haven't played Pikmin 3, man.
I'm busy, man. The last thing I'm gonna say is I might actually get it anyway because Sigma 2. I don't know if there's like a special version for that, and then like if I like Black, right, I might just get the whole series so I can play 2 and 3.
Gotcha. Yeah. Hopefully it's not like a full price game. I'm pretty sure it might actually be a cheaper game. But anyway, those are all the third party games that they talked about in this Nintendo Direct. And now we have some first party games. There's not as many. But the first one they showed is I predicted this from a mile away. I kind of like cheated because I said there would be a Mario sports game, which like leaves it open to be a lot of different games. But Mario Golf Super Rush comes out June 25th, 2021. One of the big new modes for this game. Obviously, like each one of these games, right? They always try to find like something unique that defines it so that it doesn't feel exactly like the one previous in the series, which is hard to do because if you're making a game about a sport, it's hard for you to evolve like a sport that already exists. Like, how do you keep making tennis interesting when tennis as a game stays the same? So one of the things that they're doing with this one is they have this new mode called Speed Rush, and it's a mode where Mario like inhales a bunch of hardcore street drugs and he tries to cheat and beat everybody else using drug use on the golf course. No, what happens is they they have it's a mode, so it's not the default thing, but it's like they have this speed golf mode where you basically hit the ball. There's no turns. So usually in when you play these golf games multiplayer, it's like, okay, Kyle will go first and he'll hit the ball. You'll watch him hit the ball. And then the next person goes. Just like real golf, you take turns. No one's golfing simultaneously in real life. But in this speed golf mode, everyone's golfing at the same time. And so you like line up your shot, you hit it, and then you run to go to where the ball is, and you try to be the first one to get it in the hole. And in typical like Super Mario fashion, there's going to be power ups and there's going to be a bunch of like insane hazards. And like, you see Mario gunning it after hitting the ball and then he gets a star and knocks over the other guy and Bowser's doing some other thing. So they always find something really cool and funny to put into these games and liven them up. There is currently no Mario Golf games on the Switch. And actually, the last one that came out was on the 3DS, and people were over the moon about it. Like, people were saying how amazing it was. Like, the expectations are not super high for those games, but the Mario Golf on the 3DS apparently was incredible. So this game looks really cool. It comes out in June. I'm not sure about this because, like, as good as the Mario sports games are, like, those are the type of games where I feel like I would enjoy them if I was going to play them with someone regularly, like local multiplayer, not online and stuff. So I don't know, maybe if a bunch of my friends get it and we're going to play it together and I know there's already going to be people playing it, I'll get into it. But as of right now, like, it's one of those games where I'm like, okay, that game looks like a lot of fun, but I'm not personally interested in buying it. Kyle?
I'm all in, man. Sign me the fuck up for this game. I listen. One of my favorite movies of all time is Happy Gilmore. I love golf as a like unironically. I enjoy watching golf. And this game looks like fun. Like, I wasn't really into like Mario Tennis Aces, but like that's never been like my favorite of the Mario sports games. I've always really liked like obviously like Mario Sluggers and Mario Strikers, but Mario Golf is like low-key a really fun game, and I love the drip that the characters are oozing with. They're dressed to the nines in golf attire. Wario looks like an oil tycoon in a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
In like the picture that he's wearing. Bowser's wearing a polo shirt. Like, it's absolutely amazing. I am going to quote Happy Gilmore hundreds of times playing this game with friends and with strangers, and you can't stop me.
I can stop you. But anyway,
why don't you go to your home?
Hungry, are there any odds? With this one, you don't have a choice. You're either going to buy this game on Switch or you're not buying it at all right? Are you going to buy this game? Do you have any interest in it? There's no Steam option available, okay, Mr. PC?
Okay. So the biggest thing for me, for the possibility of me buying this game, is if there's going to be a demo. Because this is going to be a full price game, 100%. It's not going to be like a $40, $50 game. No, it's going to be a full $60, right? And golf is cool, I guess. Okay, so I have actually a funny anecdote about this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So have you guys seen Enter the Dragon, the Bruce Lee movie?
Yes.
So this is probably the most unremarkable part of the whole movie. So at the beginning of the movie, when they're introducing the characters, one of the main characters, he's playing golf, and he goes to chase the ball, because it like lands somewhere weird. And I was always like, they never show us part of like the movie, or they never show us part of the game in movies and TV shows, like grabbing the ball, And I was like, and I watched this movie today, like for the first time.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking that I was like, I wonder how it is in real life, like. How much time does it take to find the ball? As someone who doesn't watch sports or participate in golf that way, right? So I was just like thinking to myself the whole day about that. I'm like, it's really interesting, just letting your mind wander, right? And then this comes out, and I was like, oh, so that's what happens.
Yeah. He's fixing that ball and run after it, bro.
Yeah,
he's fixing a divot.
Yeah, so it's definitely an interesting concept,
I feel like you would like I feel like you would like those kind of games if you have the right people. You know what I mean? Because you like competing in those type of things.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely like The Mario sports games I've always found like an interesting twist on the things that they do, and this is like an interesting twist on an interesting twist.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
uh,
Also, sorry to cut you off. One last thing about this game is that, and they, it's interesting how. So one of the earlier episodes, actually the first episode that Kyle was on, we we were talking about how the Wii U, they're running out of games to port to the Switch from the Wii U, right? And a lot of like the Switch's momentum has been buffed by being able to port old games. And so I was saying how they should go back and port a lot of Wii games and update them for the Switch, because the Switch is a rare occasion where they have the opportunity to add motion controls and bring those games that are trapped on a motion control device to a modern device. We're going to get a little bit more into that later, obviously, with one of the big games they announced. But the reason I bring that up is because it's like, it's funny how they have not ported Wii Sports to the Switch, even though you would think that's a no brainer. But instead, they've kind of like sneaked it into other existing games. So this game, part of the trailer, they show like, oh, by the way, you can, swing the Joy-Con to like do the golfing just like you would in Wii Sports, and you could do this thing with your Mii. And it's like Wii Sports Golf is in this game, and then they just have everything else there. And they did the same thing with Mario Tennis, where they have the same tennis in that game, just hidden. So if you're a fan of like, Wii Sports Golf and that stuff, this might be an option for you. But moving on, another game they announced was Miitopia, which is an RPG where every character that you in your party is like a different Mii that you've made in your system. And this game actually came out for the 3DS a couple of years ago, and people said it was really funny and charming. And it's the whole point of it is not really to be as challenging as a traditional RPG, but it's supposed to be like way more funny, and it looks really cool, and it's very interesting. It's something that I wish Nintendo made more stuff like this back on the Wii when the Mii's were like a big new thing. Instead, they kind of waited for all that to die, and then they started introducing these really cool ideas that we all thought they were going to do back in the Wii generation. I'm personally not interested in this game, although I can appreciate what it does. So for me, this is probably just a pass. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm good. Like I stopped giving a shit about the Mii's like a long time ago, and it's like we said, like it's so strange that they don't do anything with the Mii's for so long. They feel like a complete afterthought on the Switch themselves. Like I- I've I feel like if they were going to try to make the Mii's like happen again, they should have just brought over like made a Wii Sports Switch or something like that. But I'm good. I'll play something else.
Hungry?
next question.
Is it on
Save everybody some time. Save everybody some time. Next question.
So the other quick thing is they're adding Super Mario items to Animal Crossing New Horizons, which is really cool. Like they have like usually it's very cosmetic. So obviously they have a Mario costume and like Wario and like whatever. But they added some stuff that looks really a little bit more interesting than what you typically have for Animal Crossing. Like you can put a warp pipe down and then put another warp pipe down somewhere else in your island and actually transport between them. And you can collect coins, and there's I'm not interested in this personally because Animal Crossing is like I'm over it, but this I can appreciate that for the people who are still into this game, this is the right way to introduce this Mario content. So that's just so you know that's happening. And then we'll skip to Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity is getting DLC. So if you're interested in that game, or if you bought that game and you really enjoy it, the this game actually just recently became the highest selling Warriors game in the series history. And it's only been out for like 2 months or 3 months. That's like incredible. So obviously it got carried by Breath of the Wild and the
It
excitement
got
and the
carried by
drought.
Switch.
It got carried by the Switch and carried
The
by the
Switch
fact that
buff.
the Switch buff plus the fact that Zelda fans are parched, dude. We are emaciated. We don't exist in reality, dude. And that brings me to the next thing that happened in this direct, okay, was coming into this direct, right? This is what was happening. Everyone knew there was going to be a Smash reveal because Sakurai retweeted it, etc. Whatever.
Well, he said expect Smash news.
Yeah, exactly. He literally said expect something for Smash. Now, outside of that, again, you earlier in the show we covered how there hasn't been a direct in over a year, and we thought that when directs inevitably came back, that they were they were purposely not going to bring back a direct until they were able to show us either Metroid Prime 4 or, of course, Breath of the Wild 2. That's how that was framed in our minds. Like, okay, they're doing these mini directs in order to make sure that people don't expect Metroid and Zelda. But once they do announce a big direct, we thought it would be with Zelda and Metroid. And we kind of got Zelda. So we were all doing the stream, right? And you guys saw how I reacted. Finally,
Both of us reacted.
they showed Aonuma, the producer of the Zelda series. He also directed Majora's Mask. He directed Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword. And he
Well,
co-directed.
not Skyward Sword. He did not direct
Oh,
Skyward
that's right.
Sword,
That was
but he directed Ocarina of Time though.
yeah,
He
right.
co-directed Ocarina of Time and co-directed Majora's Mask.
Yeah, the director for Skyward Sword was Fuji Bayashi, who also directed Breath of the Wild. And so when you see Aonuma, they've kind of like, they've made him the face of Zelda more so than Miyamoto in recent years. Like in most of the directs that have anything to do with Zelda, you actually see Aonuma first. And so he comes up, and me and Hungry, we pop off because we're first of all, like I said earlier, the Pyra Mithra reveal for Smash. Oh my god! Like I was just, dude, I needed help, and so I finally see the direct was kind of underwhelming, right? Like not a lot of things that were specifically for me. But then they finally show Aonuma, my guy, my boy, my son. I love that guy. All right. And I pop off. And the first words out of his mouth are, I know how this looks, but there is no Breath of the Wild 2. Please calm down. And he just basically says, look, man, we don't have anything to share for Breath of the Wild 2 right now. He does promise us that we are going to learn more about that game later in the year at some point. And he goes, but I can't give you the Zelda you want. So instead, I'm going to give you the Zelda you need. And he shows us the long rumored and inevitable port of Skyward Sword in the form of Skyward Sword HD, which is coming to the Switch July 16th. And it's really interesting because I was very interested in seeing how they were going to pull off this game. My first reaction during the stream was, wait, how does it control? Because we all know that the Joy-Con can do motion controls, and I knew that they would have to do that if they were going to bring this game over. But more interestingly, like you got to think about all the people who have a Switch Lite or just hate motion controls. How are they going to port that to the Switch, to a console that you don't have an option to use Joy-Cons and swing around all the time? And they showed us that they actually mapped the motion controls to the second joystick, and now you can do all the same sword movements like that. And just generally, the game looks really pretty. And me personally, if you would have told me, I think we've talked about this on the show before, but like I love Skyward Sword. It's actually, I think it's underrated in a lot of ways, even though there's a lot wrong with it. I still love that game a lot. And if you would have asked me, like, hey, they're going to port Skyward Sword, like, what do you think? I would have been like, I'm probably going to skip that one because I feel like I played it kind of, it feels very fresh in my mind. And it's not my favorite 3D Zelda. But after seeing it, I was like seeing it and hearing the music and stuff and watching the gameplay, I was like, you know what? I actually do really want to revisit this game. So obviously you guys probably could have guessed that the fanboy Zelda guy is going to buy the fanboy Zelda game. But I'm buying that game day one. And what do you guys think? Kyle, you can go first.
So as it's funny because I've touted myself multiple times, like on your platform and mine, as the fringe Zelda fan. I don't play a lot of Zelda games. And this is no different. I did not play Skyward Sword because I did not have a Wii with the Wii Motion Plus and stuff like that. So like I just completely passed on this game, even though I wanted to play it because it looked like really colorful and fun. So yeah, this is definitely in the market for me. Like I understand this game is at full price and it is a like 7-8-year-old game at this point or whatever. But I'm excited. This is one of the ones that I've missed, and I'm curious to see how it plays in the hands. Like it's kind of interesting that like they decide this is the game that they decide to map the sword to the control stick. I find that to be an interesting choice. I'm curious to see how it plays. So yeah, I'll pick this up in July. Like I definitely plan on buying this.
So Skyward Sword, I am a huge Zelda fan. It's my favorite game series. I think it's I hate using this word, but I think it's objectively the best game series to exist. You know, it's
No, I think it's the best series.
okay.
I'm the bigger Zelda fan.
Okay.
Just want to make that clear.
I think honestly don't think it's close. I think it's like clear number one, but whatever,
I
right?
agree.
I think Skyward Sword is kind of underrated and kind of overrated. You know, like the people who
Wow.
hate it too much. People who love it probably love it too much. But it has some of the best and worst stuff in the Zelda franchise.
Yeah.
The stuff that's in there that's good is like unbelievably good, and the stuff that's in there that's bad is like, what were you thinking? You know, like it's a really
High highs and low lows.
yeah, and there's not a lot of middle. You know, one of the biggest issues with that game, and a lot of people talk about it, so there's no getting around it, is the motion controls. Like, I think this, like the in general, if you're gonna talk about a digital button versus an analog movement, right? Obviously, it's gonna be less reliable. But on top of that, I think in general that game was less reliable than it should have been. Not to say that it was like unplayable, but it was definitely not as good as it should have been. And I think part of that was the frame rate. It was a little lower. Um, Generally speaking, Zelda is one of the only games where, not one of the only games, but is some of the games that are okay in like the lower 30s or 20s, right? Like they're not action heavy games, you know. They're more tactical and puzzle solving and exploration. And it'd be nice to have them at higher frame rates, but it's okay, you know, it's acceptable,
Yeah.
right? And but this time I don't think it was the right decision because you know when it comes to the texture, something so precise, if it messes up, like the frame rate is part of that problem, which is why Nintendo Land had like a motion plus sword thing, and a lot of people said they're like, why isn't Skyward Sword as good as this? You know, like, and now that it's gonna be on the Switch, you know, with more processing power, it might be better, but the motion controls themselves, but also the the digital kind of like button press and aiming with the analog stick, sword striking. I wonder how well that's going to be. Actually, you know, it's like you would think immediately that's going to be better, but until you actually play it, you don't know. You know,
Yeah, right.
so I'm very interested in that.
Yeah, I'm super interested in that too. And like, I like the fact that, let's say I don't like that mechanic. I know that for me, the motion controls on the Wii worked perfectly for me. Like, I remember a lot of people having problems with them. And I remember in my household, like the same setup, I remember my brother having problems with it. But for me, it was like it only messed up like in one or two specific areas and then never again. So I never figured out why. Like maybe some people are just a little bit more attuned to how the game wants you to do the inputs. So for me, I'm just going to rely on the motion controls. I'm glad that there is a secondary option because I think a lot of people didn't play this game simply because of that one barrier. And I love the fact that he literally said, like what you just said, where he literally says in the reveal, he's like, because of the processing power of the Switch, the improved processing power, like there will be a lot less misinputs and problems with the motion controls, which I wish I could know the science behind that because that's like just really interesting to find out. But yeah, this game. What do you think about how the way the game looks though, like visually? Because I was actually surprised. Like the original art style of Skyward Sword is, it's like they tried to be very very clever. What they tried to do was they knew they were developing for the Wii, right? But this was a late Wii game, so by the time this game was in development, HD games were already the standard. The PS3 and 360 were the standard for HD. Everyone was playing games on a widescreen, and Nintendo was still developing games on this console that was made for like your old CRT TV. And so they tried to disguise the limitations by choosing an art style that was purposely blurry, right? So they went with this art, this like fresco watercolor kind of aesthetic. And I actually, this is a little bit of a aside, but if you go and look up on YouTube the making of Breath of the Wild, right? They start talking about how Breath of the Wild was the first true HD Zelda game, right? And so they said that they when they were first developing a game, a Zelda game for HD, they started testing different art styles to see what translates into HD the best. And they made a little prototype of Wind Waker in HD, which then became the Wind Waker game port that we all got. And they also made the Twilight Princess one, which we saw in that tech demo for the Wii U when it was first announced. And they also made the Skyward Sword demo, which we never saw, and it was just shown in this one YouTube video of how they made Breath of the Wild. And Skyward Sword looked really bad, dude. Like in that little test thing that they showed in that one presentation, I was really surprised because it just looked really blurry and bad. So when they showed this game today, I was surprised at how good it looked. I was like, dude, this actually looks really nice and it runs really smoothly. Like even just from a trailer, it looked really smooth. Were you
Yeah.
guys as impressed by that as I was?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like this game, like and Hungry even like said it like while the trailer was going on. This game looks in motion. It looked really really good. I was definitely like taken aback by it, and I agree that like I love this choice of the art style. Like I'm just really excited to see how this game like runs on like a modern system.
Skyward Sword kind of has like an impressionist look to it, like impressionist paintings, and they don't really use it actually all that well in the game, despite how good it looks, except for one area that I don't want to spoil, but whatever. And it could also be seen as like almost like a coward's decision of being like somewhere in between Wind Waker and Twilight Princess.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, so
Which, by the way, you
it
could
could have
also
been a lot of things,
you could
really.
also say that about Breath of the Wild because it's also cell shaded, but it's also like adult Link and a little bit more mature. But you're
Yeah,
right. It feels like they're trying to balance that thing of like Wind Waker split the Zelda audience, and then they went hard right to Twilight Princess, and they're like, all right, how do we do something in the middle because we kind of have these two really really separate things.
yeah. So I was kind of like surprised how crisp it looked. Like it was like the resolution obviously has been bumped quite a bit. I don't know what it's running at, but it definitely looked better than what the Wii looked like just noticeably, even though the art style is very much retained. And that's kind of the big thing for me, like the art style being retained. Like even if like some things aren't exactly the same, yeah, I'm really picky when it comes to remakes.
Right.
But it's looking like it actually looks better than the original, and I'm gonna say that with a grain of salt. Let's see the rest of the game. Maybe only the footage they showed us looks better, and maybe just I might change my opinion over time. You know, who knows? People
Yeah.
change their opinions.
Yeah, like for example, I changed my opinion when I actually saw it. Like in my mind, it didn't seem that appealing until I saw it. But actually, you brought up something that I wanted to ask you. So, what do you all right, so we've established before and you made a great video on your channel about this and it's something that like dude, I literally think about this now all the time after your video and after we've talked about this. What is the right way for them to port this game where you don't have the problem of a remake or a port that is a different experience from the original, and therefore it creates two different versions of the same game, and therefore if someone wants to play the game, they have to choose between two different versions. So for example, Wind Waker HD is different enough, I would argue, than the original Wind Waker where people might have to choose between like, should I just find a way to play the GameCube one or should I play Wind Waker HD? Whereas Twilight Princess HD is the exact opposite. It's exactly the same game as it was on the Wii, and there's almost no improvements really. Even stuff that you would want them to improve, they didn't improve. So you can recommend someone Twilight Princess HD and them not feel like they're playing the wrong version of the game. Whereas with Wind Waker, it's a little more debatable. So with this game, what are the changes? Because again, we already went over. Like Kyle hasn't played this game yet, but Skyward Sword, as much as I love it, the things it does wrong, it does so wrong. And some of like it has the worst overworld in Zelda history. But it also has
If you could even call it an overworld,
exactly.
that's how bad it is.
But it has the best some of the best I would say, I'm just gonna say it outright. I think it has the best dungeons and the best boss battles in the series history. And so what changes do they have to make to this port so that it's like they make the right changes and people like you and me who have a lot of problems with this game enjoy it more, but it doesn't change the experience even if it means like keeping things that are bad, Because, like, for example, the biggest problem I have with the game is revisiting certain areas literally 3-4 times to the point where you're rolling your eyes, but they can't change that because it was like, that was really the game. Like, what are they going to do? Make you not go back 3 times? Like, you kind of have to, because they did add a lot of stuff to that. So, what are some things that you think they should change that won't, like, mess up this port?
One thing on the top of my head is that they can put in an improvement they had in Breath of the Wild when it comes to picking up collectibles, like the knickknacks.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Skyward Sword, every time you pick something up, it'd be like, "You just got this," and like Link's holding it up, and it's like, "Okay, I don't care." Like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Oh my.
And in Breath of the Wild, it only ever did it the first time that you turned on the game. Like you turn on the game, it would say, "You got an apple. This is what an apple does." Because I need to know that every time, uh, right? But every time after that, you could pick up a million apples, and the pop up will never show up. You know, until you turn the game on again. Um, so I think that's an easy fix, like a quality of life thing.
So like in Skyward Sword, it's like when you play. Have you like seen the video of the Sonic like Omochow edition? For like,
No.
like every time you pick up a ring, like Omochow tells you that you picked up a ring, and it does that for every ring you pick up.
Yeah, so it's actually not too far from that. So, for example, whenever you pick up a rupee in Skyward Sword, it goes. It's first of all, it's like, you know how there's the famous Zelda thing of Link picking up an item and it's like da-na-na-na, and he like shows it to the screen and there's a text bubble. It doesn't do that, but it does like an in between where it zooms in on what he picks up and it stops you and it brings up some text, and it does it for rupees, dude. It's like, you picked up a blue rupee that's worth 5 rupees, and it's like, all right, dude, I get it. Like, I'm 40 hours into this game. Like, how would I not know this by now?
Yeah, being able to turn it off would be good too, like just completely.
Yeah.
In general, the Zelda series has been pretty lacking of options. They started improving it with Breath of the Wild. I'm glad that the motion controls and the digital button inputs are a choice and not like you have to do it this way. You know?
Yeah, right, right. Um, the one change I think they need to make, and I actually feel very hopeful that this is going to happen, is that, okay, so you know how in every video game ever, and especially in Zelda and Mario games, if you're low on health, right, there's like a beep sound or like a blinking animation, right?
Yeah.
So you already know what I'm going to say. In Skyward Sword, all right, first of all, this game like kind of does beat you up a lot because the enemies are way harder, especially when you're still learning the controls, right? So there's a lot of moments where you're low on health. They have the blinking red, like, hey, your hearts are low on the top left corner of the screen, just like you normally would have. They have a little sound that accompanies it. But on top of that, they literally have your assistant, Fee. She's in the Master Sword, right? She, like, you can talk to her whenever you want, just like you could with Navi in Ocarina of Time and a lot of other Zelda games that have like an assistant character. The thing is that talking to her is mapped to a button, and when she wants to say something to you, there's a sound, like it starts beeping so that you press the button and talk to her. When you're low on health in that game, she beeps and the health bar beeps. And
Yeah.
it's like, dude, it literally, you will become a serial killer listening to those beeps too long, dude. Like, you lose your mind, bro. Dude, it's infuriating. That game treats you like you've never played a video game in your life. And like,
Yeah, having like an
yeah,
expert setting where like it minimizes the tutorials and feed being like, "Hey, you can do this," that would be really nice because it really isn't necessary, especially if for a lot of people this is gonna be their second time playing it.
yeah. Oh my God. You know what they did with Twilight Princess actually? And they did this with Wind Waker HD. I'm glad you mentioned that because I completely forgot about this. They added right at the beginning, there's not a master mode. I think they call it a hero mode. And it's like, hey, you played this game before. We can cut a lot of those things out and we can make this game a little more streamlined for you. And I enjoyed that a lot on Twilight Princess HD. Like, I was like, thank goodness, bro, because Twilight Princess, it was the beginning of a lot of that stuff that we find annoying about Skyward Sword. It started with Twilight Princess and Wind Waker, man. Like, after Majora's Mask, dude, they took such a left turn into holding people's hands in that series, and it just got worse and worse until finally Breath of the Wild saved us all from that. So one of the interesting things about the Zelda announcement today is that one of the things we've all predicted came out to be completely false. So obviously, if you've been listening to the show and you've been listening to any show or whatever on Nintendo stuff, everyone knows that this year's the 35th anniversary of Zelda, right? And we all expected, just like 10 years ago when Skyward Sword came out on the 25th anniversary. If you bought the game, you got a 25th anniversary CD that had a live concert recording on it. I still listen to that CD to this day. The Zelda Wii Remote that came with came with Skyward Sword, had a little logo on it and stuff. And they really did a lot for Zelda's 25th. So we all thought it was inevitable that this game would be part of that announcement. And instead of not only did they not announce any Zelda 35th stuff, this game is just coming out by itself with some cool, Wii remote. Sorry, I keep saying that. Joy-Cons that has like a Master Sword and Hylian Shield Joy-Con. And they're going to drift really well with this game, by the way. And they're going to build the drift into the game. Like if you start drifting, it's actually going to boost your character. So that way you're motivated to keep getting Joy-Cons with drift. So it's not part of the 35th anniversary. Do you think that like they're not going to celebrate it or bring it up, or like what's the plan? Like, were you guys shocked that this wasn't part of it?
So they were like, Zelda's 25th anniversary, Skyward Sword, and then like 35th anniversary, Skyward Sword.
That's funny.
It was definitely weird. I feel like I think what they're gonna do for like hopefully all the games that have like anniversaries this year, they'll do what they did with Mario. They'll have just like separate directs for that stuff. I think one thing that Nintendo has done really well is that they've done a good job, like I guess navigating traffic of like all the games that they have. So I figured if we see any like anniversary stuff, like because we'll probably get some more like Pokemon Snap stuff before the game comes out. Maybe probably not, but like Pokemon is having an anniversary this year. Zelda has an anniversary this year. Sonic has an anniversary this year.
I thought we were going to go the whole podcast without you mentioning Sonic. I was actually not going to bring him up.
And I mentioned him twice, bitch. Metroid. Just when you thought that your rock bottom could have gotten worse.
Is also this year.
Metroid, bro. But you were saying, Kyle, so there's all these anniversaries.
Yes, I feel like I just think that they'll probably like dedicate special videos to those anniversaries, because I feel like it would have been a little cheap if they just like were just like, oh yeah, by the way, here's Zelda's like 35th anniversary stuff, and then just like left.
Right.
Like it would have felt a little bit dirty if they did it like that, because like it like I'm a fringe Zelda fan, but like it's still one of like the most consistent like and like best video game franchises like on planet Earth.
Right.
So like I feel like when it comes to like stuff like that, it deserves like its own like stage to shine on and stuff.
Yeah. Also, Zelda's bigger now than it's ever been because of Breath of the Wild. So like maybe, again, he said we're getting more Breath of the Wild 2 info later this year. Maybe that's the moment they're like, you know what, Skyward Sword, we don't, like you said, we don't want to. First of all, we did that 10 years ago when the game came out. And second, we don't want it to be this kind of like, if we're going to announce it early before everything else and people really want Breath of the Wild 2 and we're keeping those two things separate, let's make Breath of the Wild 2 the 35th anniversary game. That would be sick. The only other thing I want to talk about with Zelda is that just a quick aside is like, dude, at this point, obviously COVID is a big factor, but like Breath of the Wild 2 is taking almost as much time to develop now as the original game. And we thought that it would be quicker because it's reusing assets and they're building on top of a game that already exists. And like now because of COVID and maybe, I don't know, maybe in general it would have just happened anyway, but like Breath of the Wild 2 is taking just as long. It's going to be like almost 5 years after, Breath of the Wild. If it comes out early next year or later this year, like it's going to be close to that. So damn, dude, like Metroid Prime 4, that was missing from this direct that people really wanted. Dude, like if Breath of the Wild 2 is taking this long, then a game that had to be restarted development and handed to a developer overseas and like changed that much, Metroid Prime 4 is never coming out, dude. Like this game, I don't even want to think about Metroid Prime 4 anymore.
I joked on Kyle's stream is like the announcement for Metroid Prime 4 would be a new like logo, like
and
here's a new logo for you guys to look at.
And also in that same vein, we also still didn't get any information on Bayonetta 3 in this direct, and I saw a tweet like right before we started that said in the time span between Bayo 2 like between Bayo 2 and Bayo 3, we've gotten 3 Splatoon games.
Oh my god! Wow.
It's
So
Well,
just like
that's
kind of
Splatoon
crazy.
3's not out yet.
that's
but
perfect. That is
but what I was gonna say before we get to the next thing is that there's also no Shin Megami Tensei 5 news,
oh
and
yeah, that's right.
and Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne is supposed to come out on Switch in the US like in the spring, which is like a month away. So
Yeah.
it's already out in Japan, and it did relatively well, but it has a chance to blow up here, especially considering Dante's in the game.
At least they showed that somewhat recently, but yeah, you're right. Like we thought we'd get more on that in
Yeah,
this direct.
so there was like two things they could have said about it, and they just didn't. So who knows?
Yeah. So Kyle mentioned the final game we're going to talk about. So they end the direct with what looked like DLC for Splatoon 2 and turned out to be no. It's a full new Splatoon game, 100% new game. And the opening shot is like, you see an inkling in the desert and then you see like an Eiffel Tower that's upside down so just confirming this is Earth post humans, which is really cool and kind of spooky considering the crazy year we've had. But anyway, uh, I can't believe that this is real because, like, first of all, no one was predicting this, right? Like, everyone comes in with Breath of the Wild 2, Metroid Prime 4, and then they announce Splatoon 3 coming out in 2022, and it's an all new game, apparently. And the reason why I'm actually more surprised about this is because I thought Splatoon was going to be the type of series where they would have the Mario Kart or like the Smash Brothers approach where this game is still selling really, really well. And it's very, very successful on the Switch and it has a very big audience. And I figured that they wouldn't want to compete with themselves where they offer, a sequel that is inevitably for this style of game, like the multiplayer online shooter types. It's going to render the previous one obsolete because you're not going to, like, as someone who loves Splatoon and 1 and 2, the campaign for Splatoon 2 is not so good that you like need to buy that game just for the campaign. So if all the players migrate to 3, they're going to cannibalize their own sales a little bit. But I don't care. Like, honestly, I'm I put over 100 hours into Splatoon 2. I love that game a lot. And I'm day one gonna buy this game. Like this is the best. This is one of the best series of all time. Like I love Splatoon. So I just like this came out of left field, and I'm definitely gonna buy it. I'm surprised they're doing it. It looks sick. It looks interesting. The single player is I think what we saw there, where she's in the desert waiting for the train, and this game is gonna be hype. What do you guys think? Because I know you guys both haven't jumped into Splatoon yet, but Kyle, you can go first.
Well, to contrary, Glenn, I have played a bit of Splatoon 2
Let's
and
go.
Splatoon 1. So
Let's go.
I think those games are a lot of fun. And as a commentator, I have like some friends that like cross streams into Splatoon. So I'm curious to get their takes on this. Um, the game looks cool. Like I agree. It's strange that like Nintendo is just gonna like go the route of releasing another Splatoon game, which is like because I'm with you, Glenn. I thought this would just be like, you know, I don't think we'd get 3 Splatoon games, since like 2013 or something like that, which is odd. I saw a really funny tweet where like Nintendo of America said it like the pop stars from the first game, Callie and Marie. They were like, oh, the Callie Marie are in France, and then someone quote tweeted with the picture of the destroyed Eiffel Tower, being like, "What did they do?"
Oh,
Which I thought was really funny. But like if that's the single player campaign, I'm definitely like interested to check it out. Because it looks, because I think one of our friends said it in the call, but like it looked like a roguelike sort of thing. Like you're just like roaming around these like empty like desert area as like a homeless inkling, which was interesting. I think the buddies look cool. I think that's fun. Anything that adds buddy systems is like fun.
Looks like you have a pet.
Buddy.
I hate that. No, I'm excited. I love Splatoon. I'm definitely planning on picking this up. And God, 2022 feels like it's so far away, but I feel like I'm gonna blink and it's gonna be like December already. So
Hey, so before I talk about that, I just want to see something that I saw on Twitter real quick from Koei Tecmo. Apparently, Ninja Gaiden's coming to everything, including Steam. So I rescind my comment. um, compared to Splatoon,
Jerk.
yeah. um, so I haven't played it. I haven't played it Splatoon 1 or 2. I'm very interested in those games. I'm actually more interested in the single player than I am in the multiplayer. Um, and when I saw it, I thought maybe this is going to be like a Splatoon spin-off. I was like, is this going to be like a Splatoon like adventure game? Because it was a really slow paced, like
Yeah,
like
it's
very
true.
drawn out trailer. And I was like, why is it so slow? Like it's like like it's not the rhythm that Splatoon usually goes for. They eventually did go to that rhythm towards the end of it when they're like doing the multiplayer aspect of it, right? So I was like, I kind of just want them to make a game, an adventure game, But that's just towards my taste, I guess.
Yeah. So one of the things I'll say about that is that, so the Splatoon 2 DLC, the Octo expansion, it was like a single player focused thing, and it was way better than the campaign, and it was way better than the campaign in the first one. I would actually recommend you try that if you ever get into Splatoon, because it feels like a single player game completely, and it's actually really really fun. It feels like they hit their stride and figured out, oh, okay, this is how you make a single player experience for this style of game. Whereas the campaign for 1 and 2 are a little bit more like, you can tell they don't really know how to turn this multiplayer shooter team based game into a single player campaign. So the beginning of this, it looked a lot like a DLC thing, and um, and like you said, I was like, wait, is this like a spinoff? Like, why is it so different and moody and stuff? So it definitely feels like the single player might be more the focus with this one. And it's going to be interesting because I really think that, like I said, the Splatoon 2 is so successful that for them to justify another purchase of this game in this series and not just add to the second one, I feel like they have to have a lot of ideas. So I'm actually really excited about this because the Octo expansion had like a lot of weird ideas that they added to that series. And so this already looks super different. And like, dude, I didn't think I was gonna see this. I didn't think it would ever happen. And like, I'm super, super excited about it. So Splatoon 3, that's coming out 2022. So in the end, we're just gonna wind down here by giving our overall general thoughts. 531 days later, Kyle, was this Nintendo Direct worth the wait for you?
Yes and no. It's weird because like I said at the beginning that like this Nintendo Direct feels like they're like skewing in a very different direction. Like you saw them focus a lot on like RPGs and like JRPGs and stuff like that, which is like not necessarily something that Nintendo has like embraced like super hard in the past, like at least not in like recent memory. So the things that were good that I'm excited about, I'm really excited about. But like there's a lot here where I'm just like, yeah, I don't know if this is necessarily for me or not. So I think like I said this in the last time I was on the podcast, but like any Nintendo Direct is like even like a bad Nintendo Direct is still, you can still like pick some goods out of it. And there's definitely some winners here. So I'll say I'm about like lukewarm on like how I feel about this Direct in
What do you
general.
think in terms of like, is there one game that stands out to you out of everything that was here? Like one where you're like, okay, well, I'm definitely going to be into that.
Probably Skyward Sword because I've never played it before. So
Yeah.
like I understand some people are like really upset and like polarized that, you know, Nintendo is selling this game at full price again for a remake, but like, you know, that's a different conversation for a different day. I'm excited for that. I think Mario Golf looks cool, and jury's out on how the new Smash characters make me feel until they actually come out. So I'll patiently await Sakurai telling me about anime girls in his living room
Yeah.
for that one.
What do you think, Hungry?
In general, I was never like, oh come on, like I was never like too disappointed with it, but there was nothing really that excited me either. Like I wasn't like wowed about anything or even too surprised. Probably the most surprising thing was probably Splatoon 3, which is a series that I have not got into yet.
Right.
But there was a lot of in the middle stuff, something I'm interested in, something I'm not interested in, but not necessarily repulsed by. I'm definitely gonna buy Skyward Sword HD, not even just for myself, But I'd like to get it since my little sister has a Switch, and I could have her play that, and then we could share that game.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in trying out Project Triangle. Got a little demo going on there. Uh, if you guys all buy Fall Guys on Switch, I'm probably gonna buy it again.
Oh yeah, that too.
That game's a lot of fun.
I'm game for that. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, that's true. I'm definitely gonna get
And
to
the
that.
last thing that I'm kind of interested in, that's Switch specific, is the Famicom Detective Club.
Oh
I
yeah.
heard those are actually pretty cool. So even though they're remakes, I still like to see how they turn out.
Yeah, I skipped over a couple. There were more games that were in the direct that we didn't discuss here because, like,
Just out of time.
yeah, like I if we go through the whole thing, and you might as well just watch the direct. So I just tried to pick out like the major ones, but that definitely does look interesting.
Oh, and Neon White, that looked cool too.
Yeah, that's gonna be. I just need to see more of that. Like whenever
Yeah.
that develops a little
It's
further.
it's too early to say. But
Exactly. You could tell that it's early for that. So overall, my thoughts on the direct were I'm never one of those guys that's like super, super disappointed because like I know that I know not to expect the moon. You know what I mean? Like I just know not to go in there expecting things that could take forever to come out. Um, this one particularly, though, I mean, there was definitely some games there that I'm like, obviously, Skyward Sword, like I said, seeing it in this direct made me want to play that and buy it. There are a bunch of other little games that I'm interested in. I think it was a solid direct, even though I can't stand that character for Smash. Overall, it's like it's solid. But then the thing that's actually disappointing about this was when I thought about it a little more, I'm a little disappointed by this direct, not because of what was in it or what wasn't in it. It's actually because of the implications that I realized of what this direct means. So here's what I mean. If you look at everything they announced, right? It's all stuff that's coming out in the summertime. Dude, the earliest game that was in this direct is coming out in June, right? So then you have Splatoon 3, which like I'm excited about, but I'm like hesitant to even get excited about it because it's dude, that's 2022. That's like as far as I'm concerned, that's a lifetime away. And like I don't want to think about that game too much while I'm waiting for games that were announced 4 years ago in the meantime. So I started to realize two things. Number one, COVID definitely messed them up a lot because the fact that we had a really dry 2020 with Nintendo's like first party games, and then we expected when they finally have a direct, they're gonna all these games that have been building up over the past few years, they're gonna show us everything, and it's gonna be this big blowout. And this was definitely not a big blowout. Like their biggest game is a port of a 10-year-old game. So that's one. Two, everything that comes out in the summer and there's nothing in the spring and there's nothing for the rest of the winter. So if you think about it, you're just like, dude, COVID definitely ruined their schedule. And maybe they were really carried in the early Switch life by how many Wii U games they were able to port. Because
well, one thing I'll say
yeah,
is that, like I said earlier, specifically about Shin Megami Tensei 5, that's supposed to come out this year, right? Maybe they're holding their guns until right when it's announced. Kind of like how Origami King came out, like the trailer for it came out like really, really right before it came out.
yeah, right.
Now that we know that they're coming, they might just be saving it so that it's like we know you're expecting it, so we're just going to show you as little as possible until it's actually there.
Yeah, and that's definitely probably
It's possible.
that's probably the better approach at this point because again, like COVID probably ruined so much momentum that they can't announce something and not know when they're going to put it out. But all the games that got release date today, literally the third party ones, they're all in June, dude. Like we're in the beginning of the year in my mind. Like we're in mid-February. So for me, it's like that's so long. Like what are we going to play in the
Well, there
meantime?
are games. Well, there's Octopath coming out like a week from now.
No.
Right.
You mean Bravely Default 2? Yeah, there's Bravely
Sorry.
Default
Yeah.
2, and there's Monster Hunter Rise. So yeah,
Yeah.
and then
There are games.
yeah,
There are
And
games.
Pokemon Snap.
Oh yeah, I don't know when that's coming out.
that's
though,
coming
right?
out in April, and then we also just got Mario 3D World.
Yeah. So in May we're gonna get something paid probably. June there's games coming out. July there's games coming out. They're trickle, but they're not huge hitters. I'll say that much.
Yeah, that's kind of the yeah. So it just makes me think like, damn, maybe that Wii U failure that they were able to like turn into like Switch momentum. We're starting to really feel the lack of that. Like they're running out of Wii U games. So I don't know. We'll see. But overall, like, there are definitely games I'm excited about. And as the first direct in over 500 days, I think it's okay. I didn't think it was bad, but I didn't, obviously, without Breath of the Wild 2 and Metroid Prime 4, it's hard for me to say that any direct from now until they show those games is going to be amazing, because every single time now when they have a direct, especially after seeing Aonuma in this one, we're all going to be like, okay, finally, surely they can show us Breath of the Wild 2. So until they do that, they're going to have okay showings. I don't think anyone's going to be over the moon about anything until they show that.
I just want to see something new, though. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you want to see the next Zelda, you want to see the next Metroid. It's like we've gotten like over 10 of those games before. You know, it's like,
yeah,
I definitely want to see something new. You know, Splatoon is their new hype right now. Splatoon 3 is coming out. You know, that's a new series for them. Like, it's kind of like weird to think about because of how easily it was adopted, but that is just a new series.
Yeah, that series
so it's cool
is
to think about.
It's less than 10 years old. It's younger as a series than Skyward Sword is. So yeah, that's kind of that's the Nintendo Direct. And thank you guys for coming on. There's a lot of stuff to get through, so I needed the partners, bro. We needed the full squad for this one. So thank you, Kyle, Koopa, Rios. Is that the right thing to call you? Do you care if people call you Kyle? What do you want to be called, bro?
I actually talk about this in my own podcast, plug. But if it's like a situation where it's like you guys that like you like we've known each other like long enough where like you could use my real name and I don't care, and you can call me Koopa and I will still respond because it's technically a nickname, but like I don't care what you call me. Just don't call me later.
All right, so tell people where they can find you, and you can give another handsome plug to your podcast.
Certainly. So you can find me at Koopa NJ across platforms. That includes Twitter and Twitch, and I guess Instagram if you're into that sort of thing. I'm not, but you might be. I also host a podcast, like I mentioned, which has had Glenn on it. One of my more popular episodes.
Episode number 2, baby.
No, so you can check that out at it's called Cooped Up. You can check us out on Twitter at Cooped Up Pod, and follow. We're on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts and stuff like that. So check me out there.
Kyle, one last thing. Be honest. You were upset that it wasn't Eggman. You wanted to hear Sonic music today in that direct. Be honest.
I did, because I think Sonic deserves another rep in Smash, but like I had no basis to go on the fact it was going to be Dr. Eggman. There's no way that was going to happen. So
also joining us, of course, the illustrious Arhungry. Please tell the people where they can find you.
Don't look for me. No, I'm kidding. Please look out my stuff. It means a lot to me that people even watch it at all. So any kind of viewership or feedback that I get is really, really appreciated. You can go to youtube.com/rhungry. That's where my main focus is, even though it's kind of like a slower thing. You know, I don't do it all the time, but I want to make sure everything is right. Something should be coming this month. That might be the biggest thing I do so far. So definitely be excited for that. I don't want to say what it is just because the surprise is a lot of fun for me, and I hope it's fun for everybody else. I'm also
on Twitter. Among Us video.
What?
It's an Among Us video.
It's
yeah. So twitter.com/mf_hungry.
Awesome, dude. This is fun. The first TriCast on the show, and I could only think of 100 other people that would be better than you two. But I'm happy to have you guys in. Thank you guys. See you next week. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. You can follow me on Twitter at @SuperGlentendo. The Glentendo podcast is a weekly Nintendo / Smash community podcast. Our aim is to have galaxy brain conversations on all things Nintendo. If you like the show, please consider becoming a friendo and supporting on patreon.com/Glentendo. Friendos get early access to the show each Thursday. The show then becomes free to all the following Sunday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts right now and you actually like the show, please give us a good review. It helps boost our visibility so more people can find the show. This show is brought to you by our amazing producers, Naomi Eduardo, In a Yellow Flash, and the legendary Riz.